let's create our products page. So if you go to your browser and click on the products, we do not have a products page yet, but we have built the service 3 page. So what we'll do is we're going to go to our about us page template here, save this page as, and I'm going to create a page called products. Okay, so that's created. Let's get back here. I'm going to remove this and let's go to a products tab. Okay, so this is what we have. So what I want here is I want a list of products here. So let's get back to the code. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of a little bit of paragraph, like around this much. So I can get rid of that. And let me remove this image and this paragraph. So this is the main content which I have, and I'm going to build everything within this. Okay, so this is what I have. So since a paragraph is a block element, I can directly create my product over here. So I'm going to add around 3 products in my page. So let me get back here and you can see this. I'm going to create a div called products list. Okay, and inside this, I'm going to create another div. I'm going to call this as product. And inside this, I will have an img tag. Let's hold control and spacebar, and we have images, and I want this laptop over here. I'm going to call this laptop. And once I have this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another div here. I'll call this as product caption. And inside this, I'm going to create a paragraph tag which specify the product name. And then we'll specify the product price. I'm going to set this one to DEL tag. We'll say 50,000. Okay, and now we have a new price, that is INS, and that is 25,000. Okay, next I need an anchor tag, and here I'll give this as buy now. Let me save this. So if I go back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see this is my product, and my entire idea right now is to style this. Okay, let's create some more of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this product which is inside the product list and copy this and paste it here and here. So I have it like around 3 times now, and let me refresh. Okay, there it is. Now we need to target this. So let's inspect this. Let's see what is the document size we have inside, and this is my main tag. So basically my main tag is 700 pixels wide. So let me open a calculator and I'm going to calculate this. So 700, and I want 3 products inside this. That's going to be 233.33. So I'm just going to copy this till here, copy this, and now you can see that I have a product div, right? So let's go to our CSS now, and here I'm going to type in, say product, say dot product. I'm going to say that the width is 233.33 pixels, height is auto, and I want this to float to the left. So if I do this much, I should be getting 3 products all aligned side by side. Okay, let me add some border to that so that it can look a little bit nice. I'm going to say border as 1 pixel, solid, black. Let's save that. Let's get back to the browser and let's hit refresh. Okay, see, this thing happened. Now since I have added 1 pixel border, so I need to remove 2 pixels from here. So this becomes 231.33. So let me just refresh now. That should come side by side again. So look, it looks kind of very close to each other. So I'm going to give some margin here. I'm going to say the margin should be around 5 pixels apart. So let me hit save and refresh. Okay, this thing is happening. Again, we need to minus around 5 pixels on the left and 5 pixels on the right. That is like 10 pixels. So this becomes 221.33 pixels. So let me just hit refresh now. Okay, we have the boxes lined up together, but see, the text is quite closer to each other, so I need to give some spacing inside, so that would be padding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add padding as 5 pixels. Let me save that and let's hit refresh. Okay, we have the padding, but again this thing has come down, so now we need to minus 10 pixels again. This becomes 211.33 pixels. So let's refresh, and that looks good. Now we can style this. What I can do is I can inspect this one. You can see that's my paragraph here. So this is the content P, but I have a product caption. So I can select the product caption, and inside that I have a paragraph tag. So for this one, I'm going to say the font weight is bold. So everything becomes bold there. I'm going to select this thing, copy that, and then paste it in my style sheet. Let me go back here and refresh. Okay, that looks good. Now the deleted one is going to be in red, and this is going to be in green. So let's do that one. So if I open this link here and see the DEL is actually normal, so I'm just going to change this color. Yeah, so I want this one inside the product caption. So let me select this and add this one, and inside this I have DEL. So for this one, I want the color to be in red. Okay, that's in red. I'm going to copy this now. Let's get back to our code and paste it. Okay, the same thing I'm going to do for my INS, that is the inserted price. So INS, and this will be green. So I'm just going to remove this. Yeah. So if I save this, come back here, hit refresh. Okay, I need to customize my buy button. So what I'm going to do now is there is only one anchor tag inside the product caption. Let's get back to our code. Let me just take this one now, and I have an anchor tag. I will call this as display block, and this will be background color as teal color. Let's see how that looks like. Okay, that's looking good. And I want the padding to be around 8 pixels. Let's see how that one will look like. Okay, that is actually looking good. So what we'll do now is we'll say text align to center, and I'm going to say that the color is going to be white, and I want the font family to be sans serif and the font size to be small. Save that one. Let's get back here and hit refresh. Okay, I just need to remove the underline now, so I'm going to say text decoration as none. Save this. Let's get back here and refresh. Okay, we have the buy now button. When I take my cursor, I want to change the color, so I'm going to take this anchor tag here and I'm going to add a pseudo class, say over. I want the background color to be orange color. Let me save this. Let's get back here and hit refresh. Great, we have the products page ready. Adobe Photoshop. Adobe Photoshop is an image manipulation application. It's been used in many industries like movies, photography, digital painting, and matte painting. It is the most advanced image editing tool available right now. Learning Photoshop is easy and interesting if you dedicate your time. In this course, we will learn the essential parts of Photoshop. We will start from creating a new document, learning about workspaces, tools, outline panels, layers, and much more. At the end of this course, you will have the skills to create your own image manipulation. I have just one suggestion to all of you. Practice as much as possible to become an advanced Photoshop artist. So let's get started. So if I go to File and click on New, this will give you these options. Now make sure that you set these settings to pixels and change this pixel per centimeter to pixel per inch. Now, if you see these values, I'm going to change this one to 1920 by 1080. Once you have done that, what you can do now is you can click on Save Preset. Because I'm using these settings again in my further classes, so I'm going to save this as HD. So once I have done that, click on OK. Now click on Cancel. So now if you go to File, New, and you can see that we still don't have the settings we saved. So at that time, all you have to do is just go to your document type, and from the drop down, select HD. And now all you have the new settings which you created. So once you have done that, now click on OK. Okay, a new document is now created. Now the document says it's untitled 1. So you didn't save your document yet. I'm going to save this document. Go to File, Save As, and in the desktop, I'm going to create a folder called Photoshop. I'm going to create a new folder called Lesson 1. And inside that, I'm going to save this as 1. It's going to be saved in .psd extension, which stands for Photoshop document. So once you have done that, click on Save. Great, our new document is now saved. You can see there is a panel here called Layers. Right below that, you can see there is an option called Background, and it's kind of locked. It has an eye option. This is the background layer. Every time you create a new document, this is created by default. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer above it, and then we're going to work with layers. So if you go a little bit down, you can see there's a new layer option. You can just click on that. A new layer will be created. I'm going to call this as red. Okay, if you double click, you'll be able to edit it. Now, right below the move tool, here, you have murky tool. Let's select the murky tool. Now, once you've selected the murky tool, I can create shapes. Now, this shape is a selection of a specific area. So if I simply click and drag, I'll be able to create any kind of rectangle shape. So what I need is a specific square. If you want an exact size with the exact height and width, you can simply hold Shift key in your keyboard and you'll be able to create a perfect shape. So I'm going to set this to this size and just leave the mouse. Now that we have our selection, You can see here we have an option called gradient. Now if I right click that, I will have a paint bucket tool. Just select that option. Once you select the paint bucket tool, we can choose red color from our color palette. Let me choose red color from this. Okay, I'll just drop it inside the selection. Okay, now we have created a red box. Now you can see in the layers panel it's displaying that we have the red box. Now let's go back to our murky tool here. And what I can do now is, if I take my cursor a little bit beside the box, you can see my cursor changes, right? So let's create a new layer. I'm going to call this as green. And if I take my cursor here, I'll be able to move the selection. So I'm going to keep it over here. And then I'm going to fill this with the green color. Okay, let's create another layer. I'm going to call this as blue. Okay, now again, I'll have to go back to the murky selection tool and then just move this a little bit down and change the color to blue color. Once you have done this, you still have the murky tool running. See, you need to deselect this. To deselect, all you have to do is press Ctrl D. The selection will be disabled. Now we need to move these options up and down. To do that, we have to use the move tool. The shortcut key is V, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. Okay, now if I want to move the red box, if I try to move it, see the blue one moves. That's because in my layers, I have not selected the red one. So let me just move this a little bit up so that you'll be able to see much more clearer. Okay, see, the highlighted layer here is blue. So if I try to move the red one, I will not be able to move it. So if I want to move the red one, all I have to do is select the red one, and then I'll be able to move it. Check out what happens when I try to move all these items accordingly. You see, the red is in the bottom here in the layers too, and also in the workspace. Same thing is happening with the green. If I try to move the green, see, and that same thing is happening with the red, the blue one. So now what I need is, I need to align them accordingly. So I'll be able to move this. I can move this up and down. So I can put the red on the top, green in the middle, and blue at the bottom. Now if I align this, I can still be able to move these items up and down. So first thing what you need is a doc type declaration. So I'm using the HTML5 doc type, so it's going to be HTML, and that's it. So this is a declaration, document declaration for HTML5. The next thing what you would need is a HTML tag. So you can just type in HTML and close that. So one of the best things about VS Code is that it automatically closes the tag for you. So if you see this / sign beside a HTML text or HTML tag, that is a closing tag. Right after that, what we can do is we can open up a head tag, and inside that we can type in some title. So I'm going to show you what does this title actually do. And right now, let me just go back to the browser and show you what's actually happening. You can see that right now the document title says index.html, but what we need is a specific name for our document. So I'm going to name this as home. And right after this, I'm going to specify a meta tag. And I'm going to specify a name for this meta. That's going to be description. Okay, it will have some content. I'm just going to give this. And now once I have that, the next one, what I need is the body tag. So you can just type in body, and all the things like all the headings, paragraphs, images, links, what you will be adding in the further classes, you will be completely working inside the body tag that is over this area. So now let me explain you how this thing actually works. Now this is the complete HTML5 document structure. So there is an easier way to create this. If you can't remember this, you can just get rid of this entire thing and just type in HTML. And you can see that we have a context menu here that specifies HTML5. Select the HTML5 abbreviation and click on enter. Okay, now we have the complete skeleton of our HTML. Okay, so we need to create a simple hello world page. So I'll say hello world. Okay, let me save that. Let's get back to our browser and hit refresh. Now we have our page with the title document. So what is this document title? And if you can see here, we have the title called document, and I'm going to specify another one called meta, and I'm going to specify this a name as description. And I'll give some content to it. That's going to be this. Now you check out this thing. If you see this title document over here and this description, and now let me show you where does this actually come useful. So if you go to Google and look for web design wiki. Okay, you see this thing writing here, that is our title tag. And if you can see this thing, what we have here, a small description, is actually the description of what you will be writing in your code. Now I want to add some more text to our document. Let's go back to our code, and here in the next line I'm going to type in welcome to the world of code. Okay, let me save that. Let's get back to your browser and hit refresh. See what happened? The text came right beside the hello world. So what we need to do is we need to break this line. We want the welcome to the world of code, the text in the next line. So one way of doing this is right after this hello world text, you're going to write in the BR tag. So let me save this. So BR stands for break tag. So if I get back and hit refresh, see, that comes to the next line. The next thing what I need is I need a horizontal line right after the hello world. So if I need a horizontal line, all I have to do is just type in HR. So that's an horizontal line tag. So if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see now that I have an horizontal line. So let's just say that I want to create something. I'm going to create another HR tag, and here I will say hello world. Now you can see that they're kind of like very close to each other. So if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, okay, that's very close to each other. I need to give some space, but I can't give an extra space like this. That's going to just add in a single space. If I hit refresh, you can see that's just a single space. But I want this a little bit far ahead. So one of the way of doing this is you can just get rid of this one and give one space. So here we'll specify ampersand NBSP. That stands for non-breaking space. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it like around 4 times. So if I save this, get back to my browser and hit refresh, I can see we have some blank spaces. Let me show you how this looks like in the browser. So right click, copy path, let's go to a browser and paste this. So it's a basic heading, it has some paragraph and it has some unordered list. So let me show you how you can write your first JavaScript function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple alert box inside my file. Now if you check out, each and every tag inside the HTML has a opening and a closing tag. For example, for the head tag, we have opening tag and a closing tag. Same goes for the heading and paragraph, and same thing for the unordered list too. In the same way, we are going to add a opening tag for our JavaScript. Its name is script. And we'll also be adding a closing tag. Now inside this, I'm going to create a simple alert message. And inside that, we're going to put quotations and call this as hello world. And save this. Let's get back to our browser, and if you hit refresh, there we have our first JavaScript statement which says hello world. Do's and don'ts. For example, here you can see in the first one that we have created a simple alert message. This is what we have created in our file. It simply says alert, and then we have a hello world. Now what you should know is that JavaScript is case sensitive. So if you create a capital A with an alert, and then if you write this is not going to work. Statements in JavaScript are a specific job which you want to do in your document. For example, it might be changing the color of your heading, calculating the age, moving an image, or animating an image, or hiding a menu, or giving some alert as an important message. Statements are written in a single line. So when you see the semicolon here, that is an end of a statement. For example, here I have 3 statements. So you can use multiple lines to create your statement. The first one which you can see here is a single statement, and below that we have another statement, and then we have another statement. Whitespace in JavaScript is completely fine. JavaScript is case sensitive but not whitespace sensitive. So when you create your JavaScript file, you can see that we have this alert message. This is what we have built. You can also write the alert message like this. You can give some white spaces, that will work still fine. You can also write JavaScript like this. You can give an alert message, put that in the next line, and then you can close it. That also works fine. But this is where things start to matter. For example, here what's happening is in the first 3 lines of code, my JavaScript easily understands, okay, that it has to pop out a alert message as hello world. But in the 4th one, what's happening is my JavaScript knows that it has to output an hello world message, but with a lot of space in between. Now in JavaScript, you can use comments. So you can use comments to declare something. You can use comments to disable a specific line of code. There are 2 ways how you can declare a JavaScript comment. The first one is by putting a 2 / and you can specify this as the comment. And the next one is alert hello world, and you can write the same comment after this statement has been ended. And the next one which we have is this is called a block comment. So anything goes between this is going to be completely disabled. I use most of the time block comments to disable a specific function or a huge large statement temporarily, or even to create some kind of documentation like how my JavaScript is built or how my JavaScript program works. File, folder, I call this as bootstrap file. Okay, so now let's jump into our code editor. I'm using VS Code. So let's go to File, Open Folder, and in the desktop, I can see that the folder is available here. Let's open up that, click on Select Folder. Okay, so now what we can do is we can create a new folder here. I'm going to call this as Lesson 1. And inside this, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this as index.html. Okay, so this is where we're going to load our bootstrap file. So let's go to our Chrome browser now, okay, and type in v5.getbootstrap.com. So this will take you to the Bootstrap 5 page. Now you can see that this is still an alpha version, which basically means it's still under testing. It's not completely official yet. So they have left it out for the testing purpose, so you can use it right now. Okay, and now here you can click on the Get Started button. And once you click on Get Started, you can see that you will get all these options over here. And on your right-hand side, you will find the starter templates. Let's click on that one. And this is our starter template. So I'm going to click on Copy. And let's get back to our VS Code. And I'm going to paste it over here. Save this. Now you can see that we have a H1 tag and a title tag that says Hello World. So once you have saved this, I'm going to copy this path. Let's get to our browser and paste it over here. Great, we have built our first Hello World page with Bootstrap 5. So on the top, we have the HTML5 document type declaration, and below that, we have the normal HTML tags, and we have heading tags, and we have meta chart set, meta viewport, that is a responsive meta tag. Then we have the Bootstrap 5 CSS. So if you look at the Bootstrap 5 CSS here, we are using a CDN link. So basically CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. So in order to use this, you need to be connected to the internet. So basically what's happening is, instead of downloading the Bootstrap locally in our file or in our folder, we are going to use the link which is already where the Bootstrap 5 file is hosted. So here, further ahead, you can see that we have integrity. So basically what integrity means is that this particular link here is unmodified. So there's no tampering done, there's no modification done to this file. It's basically a raw file which we got from Bootstrap. If you see, the same thing, integrity is applied for the popper.js and also the bootstrap.min.js. Now, when you get the starter template, you can see that we have two scripts. One is the popper.min.js, and then we have bootstrap.min.js. See, bootstrap.min.js is dependent on popper.js. So if you get rid of this, most of the files in your Bootstrap won't work. So most of the Bootstrap components in your Bootstrap file requires popper.js to run. We have the perfect structure of how our page has been created. First, we have the HTML, then we have the head, then we have the meta, title, then we have the body, and inside that body, we have paragraph tags. So this basically shows how your page has been structured. Now, the same layout will also be displayed over here. So if I click on body, the entire body is selected. So if I click on just P, only that particular paragraph tag is selected. Okay, so let's get rid of these items over here, and let's look at some of the HTML components which we have. The first one which we have here is a div tag. I can simply click on this, and that's going to give me this window where I can add a class or an ID. By default, it will be set to the insertion point. But if you click on this, you get two options where you can put the start of the tag or before the end of the tag. So if I select the next one, which is after the start of the tag, and if I select this, it's going to choose body because we do not have any other tags available inside the document. And if I choose before the end of the tag, again, we have body. So I'm going to right now choose the at insertion point, and here we can set the class or an ID. But here, we don't have any kind of class listed or even IDs listed. So I'm just going to call this as block element. Now make sure these don't have any kind of spaces here. Now make sure you don't have any kind of blank spaces here. So once this is done, I can click on OK. That's going to give you this dotted line, and inside that you will have this content. I save this. If I go to the code view, you can see what's happening. We have a div with an ID called block element and the content inside it. Let's get back to our design view again. And now that we are over here, let's create another div. I'm going to specify a class now. I'm going to call this as new component. Okay, let's click on OK. That's going to create another div tag right below that because div tags are block elements and they don't allow other elements to come beside them until and unless it is styled. So let's save this now. Let's get back to our code. And you can see that we have a div class with a new component and we can add our contents over here. Now, every time you hit enter, you will have an extra paragraph tag added to your document. So we don't need that. So what we can do is you can just hit on the backspace button. That's going to remove that extra paragraph tag. Now, if I go to the code, you can see that we don't have that extra paragraph tag now. If you create a div tag, for example, like this, and you forgot to add classes and IDs, and instead of that, you just click on OK. That's going to create just a blank div tag. So it doesn't have anything. Let's just save this. Let's go to the code and let's just check it out. Now I can see that we just have a div tag. It doesn't have any classes and IDs. So you can get back to your design view here. And now if you want to add a ID for this, it's quite simple. You can just click inside this over here, and you can see that the ID is none. I can select this one, and I can specify this as new ID. I can give this any name. So I'm going to change this name to learning. Let's hit enter. Let's click on save. Now if I go to the code view, there you can see that the blank div tag which we had without any IDs and classes has a ID called learning because that is the ID which we added using our properties panel. So let's say we create another div tag. I'm going to just click on div And instead of adding anything, I'm just going to click on OK. Okay, so we have a simple div tag, and inside this, I'm going to call this as new content to be modified. Okay, let's save this. So now what you can do is you can just save this document here and get back to the code, and you can always add the ID manually over here. So I can give this as ID. I'm going to hit enter and choose learning. But what you have to always remember is that you don't need to duplicate the same ID again. See, it shows in red. That means it's an error. So instead, I can give this as learning part 2. So now I can save this. So now this is fine. So make sure that you don't repeat the same IDs which you get, but you can always repeat the classes as many times as you like. Website looks like first. Let's go to blog, visit site. Okay, it's the same thing how we saw in the beginning. Now we can modify some stuff. Now before we can do that, let's go to our settings and choose general settings. Now inside this, you can choose what will be your site title. So right now my site title is blog. So you can see here, it simply says blog. I can change this. I can change this to food blog. See, the name here changed too. Now the description of the site simply says just another WordPress site. I'm going to change that one too. I'm going to change this to for the love of food. Okay, now below that we have an WordPress address. That is a URL of how you will be accessing your website. Now the site URL is also the same thing, but it is specifically defined for your homepage. Now my recommendation is to don't change this, don't modify this. Now, after that, you have administrator email address. In case if you want to change this to your email address, you can always change this. By default, membership is disabled, so I'm going to enable this. Now whenever the new user is registered, he's by default registered to the subscriber. For now, I'm going to let this to be as a subscriber. Below that, we have the site language, which has been set to English. I can choose a time zone. I'll set it to my time zone right now. Okay, I can choose the format of how the date looks. I can also change the time format how it looks. I'm going to change to this one. And then I can choose the first day of the week. And by default, it is set to Monday. So I'm going to save this one. Now I can get back to your site and click on refresh. Our changes have been applied. Our first product. So if you have gone through the WooCommerce setup, you can just click here and create a new product. Now if you have clicked on the visit dashboard, you can create a new product from there too. I'm going to click on create a new product, and this will get me to my products page. Now you can see here the add new product is highlighted, so I can add my product name, and here I have some description, and I can set up my regular price, sale price, and a lot of other things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dismiss this. Let me create a dummy product. I'm going to call this as dummy product, and now below this I can add some description. So let me go to Logarithmism and let's get some dummy text. Let's copy this one and paste it here, here, and here. Okay, let's scroll down. Now you can see in the product data, we have a lot of other options available. So right now, I'm just going to go with the simple product. And then we need a price. So I'm going to set this to 5,000. And I need to set up a sale price. So I'm just going to leave this blank for now. And if I scroll down a little bit more, we have a short description. I'm going to leave that blank too. Let's just go ahead and publish this. Now I need to see how my product page looks like. Now if you see this add shipping methods and zone, I'm going to set that up later. So I'm just going to click on dismiss. And let's see how our product looks like in the live view. So what you can do here is you can just click on preview changes. Now you can see I have my product name, dummy product, and I have the image here, and I have the number of items I want to choose. I click on add to cart, and you can see I have the category option. I can also add tags. At the bottom, we have the description of the product which you can set in. The user can directly now click on add to cart and you can go for the checkout page. But there's still a lot of things to be added to a product. So let's see how we can do that.